9 months of sleeping in the same room. Then, Thursday night, he stopped at the door and refused to go in. They thought it was a phase. It was a warning they almost didn't hear. Simone Adeyemi had 3 rules about the Rottweiler. No furniture, no scraps from the table, no room the baby wasn't in. The last rule wasn't a rule exactly. It was just how Koba had decided to organize his life after Amma came home from the hospital. He had adopted a spot in the nursery corner within 2 weeks of her arrival and had not willingly spent a night anywhere else since. Simone had stopped thinking about it. It was Koba's room now in the way that dogs claim the things they've decided matter. 9 months of this. Then it stopped. The Thursday in October that Koba stopped at the nursery doorway was unremarkable in every way that a Thursday can be unremarkable. Amma had a bath. She had a bottle. She was put down at 7:30 p.m. with the white noise machine running and the closet light on because she had recently decided she needed the closet light on. Simone turned from the crib and walked out, and Koba was at the threshold, looking past her. Not at her. Past her. His body was angled slightly away from the door as if he had started to enter and then stopped mid-motion. She said his name. He looked at her, then back at the room. She gave him the hand signal for settle and pointed at his corner. He did not move. She pushed him gently with her knee. He stepped back. She told her husband, Kwame, that the dog was being strange. Kwame watched him for a few minutes and maybe he just wanted to sleep in the hallway tonight. Dogs did that sometimes. Changed their spots. He had read something about that. They left Koba in the hallway and went to bed. He was in the hallway the next morning. He was in the hallway that night. By Saturday night, Simone had stopped leaving the nursery door open because Koba would sit outside it and stare in, which she found unsettling in the imprecise way that animal behavior can be unsettling when it doesn't fit the expected pattern. She put this down to adjustment. Koba was 4 years old. His routines were not sacred. But the third morning of finding him in the hallway, she stood at the nursery door herself and breathed the air inside and tried to identify what had changed in there. She could not. It smelled like a baby's room. If you stay for stories about what animals detect before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. She called an electrician on Monday, not because of the dog specifically, but because the light in the nursery closet had been flickering twice in the past 2 weeks, and she had been meaning to have it checked. The electrician, a man named Terrence Blount, with 19 years in residential electrical work, opened the closet panel on a Monday afternoon while Amma was in the living room with Simone's mother, and called Simone in from the hallway. The wire running to the closet light fixture had a section of insulation that had degraded inside the wall. Likely a rodent at some point in the home's history, the gnaw marks were still on the wood stud behind the drywall, and the bare copper had been intermittently arcing against the metal junction box when current ran through it. The scorch marks on the inside of the box were new. The closet light had been left on every night for 3 weeks. He showed her the box. The metal inside was black. He said, if this had run another week, you'd have had a fire inside the wall, in the baby's room, at night. Simone stood in the nursery doorway with her hand on the frame. She looked at the corner where Koba's bed had been for 9 months. She looked at the closet. She thought about the fact that dogs detect smoke at concentration levels, 60 times below the threshold that triggers a smoke alarm. She thought about the fact that Koba had stopped at the doorway on Thursday, 2 days after the closet scorch marks based on Blount's assessment were likely already forming. She thought about the fact that she had pushed him with her knee and told him to settle and that he had looked at her and stepped back. She had not known what he was telling her. She had not asked the right question. Has your dog ever refused a space it had always been comfortable in? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Blount replaced the wiring that afternoon. Full section from the panel to the fixture. He left at 5 p.m. At 5:30, Koba walked into the nursery, crossed to his corner, turned a circle, and lay down. He stayed there all night. Amma slept through until 6:15 a.m. The white noise machine ran. The closet light, connected to new wiring and a new fixture, burned clean and steady in the dark. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. Subscribe so you never miss the next one. Simone talks about it this way. He didn't bark. He didn't whine. He didn't do any of the things you would expect from a dog trying to communicate urgency. He just stopped going into a room he had always gone into. She had 10 different explanations for that before she had the right one. The right one came from Terence Blount and a box full of scorch marks and a bare wire that had been building toward fire inside a wall. That held her sleeping daughter. Koba had one explanation from the beginning. She just hadn't known how to listen to it yet.